shotglassdigital.com.
Rebel Force Radio is brought to you in part by Little Debbie Snacks, bakers of all galactic goodness, like mini donuts, Star Crunch, cosmic cupcakes, cosmic brownies, nutty bars, and much more. It's all about celebrating your love of a galaxy far, far away, and Little Debbie is the fan's choice for all those sweet moments. Little Debbie, official snack of Rebel Force Radio, Rancho Obi-Wan, and fans around the galaxy.
Rebel Force Radio presents...
Hello, what have we here?
Fangirls Going Rogue.
I met her in a Jedi chat room.
Star Wars news, topics, and conversation from the female point of view.
I like the sound of that.
This is Fangirls Going Rogue.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 26 of Fangirls Going Rogue. It is Christmas time. It's the season of giving, or the season of the Force, or the season of Star Wars. Who knows? Because honestly, we've got, I think, 14 days left at the day of this recording to see Star Wars The Force Awakens. I'm excited. And with me today, Trisha Barr, welcome in. She is from Fangirl Blog and Hyperspace Theories. What's up, girlfriend?
It's almost like overload right now. I feel like I'm on a sugar rush, or maybe it's a Star Wars rush, and I can't wait.
I kind of can't think straight. But there is somebody who keeps me thinking straight and tries to convince me to buy Dooney and Burke purses. And her name is Sarah Woloski. She's from Skywalking Through Neverland. And my sister. How are you, girl?
Hi, I am doing fabulous. And yes, you're right. Star Wars, I was just in Wisconsin for Thanksgiving, and I was ambling around the house that my aunt has, and the TV was on, and Harrison Ford's gonna be on GMA. Oh wait, Harrison Ford is on the next show. Oh, and tonight he's on Jimmy Fallon. So it was all over the place. Star Wars is everywhere.
It is everywhere because it is that time of the year. It's, December is one of those periods of time where people make big changes in their life and stuff like that. And, people get engaged and stuff on Christmas and all that stuff. Nobody here is getting engaged. We're all married. But there is big news coming and big changes coming to Fangirls Going Rogue. But more about that at the end of the show. So if you want to know, you got to listen.
How'd you like that tease?
There's a ton of news. There's so much news that we can't even get to it all. So we've just kind of picked some stuff to hit on. And so just kick it all off. We kind of just want to talk about the global press event that just happened this past weekend over in California.
Gosh, okay, what are the feelings going through you? Because we just saw the entire cast of The Force Awakens, plus J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy, and Lawrence Kasdan here on stage. And Mindy Kaling was there to moderate? Yes. Yes.
She was a different type of moderator. I liked it, though. It was very fun. This is some of the funniest press events I've ever seen. There were two different sessions, and so we essentially got to see the whole cast. Just an amazing feeling. But the second group, Harrison Ford, came out, and I almost reached over and grabbed hold of Sarah because I thought I was just going to flow right off the seat onto the ground. And it was great to listen to everybody. What was your favorite?
Okay, so my favorite, very similar to yours, when Harrison Ford came out, and I don't know, the cast was getting in their seats, kind of settling, and he just got that big grin that he says when he says scoundrel. And I just, my heart, my little fangirl, I fangirl flailed in my head, in my heart, whatever.
Absolutely. My favorite was Mindy asked about their walk-up song. What song was it that there was their walk-up song? And Daisy Ridley sang us a little bit of hers.
I actually have one. Oh, I was going to say it. And not to advertise Disney anymore, but it's Mulan, I'll Make a Man Out of You. Yeah, I used to play it in the trailer before I went on.
Can we hear a little bit of it?
Oh, Mr. I'll make a man out of you. It's iconic, guys.
And then also we got to see Gwendolyn Christie give us hers, and then some of the cast joined in, John Boyega and Oscar Isaac, and they gave us a rendition of that song, Kashmir. So let's listen.
I'm trying to think of the name of it because it's just coursing through my brain now. It's that one that goes, da-da-da,
Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da.
Yes.
What is it? Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
Cashmere, yeah. Cashmere.
Exactly that.
But really, you have to see it. So if you haven't already found the video, because there's going to be video of this, go look at that because it's amazing. And I know we posted a few pictures on Instagram and Twitter as well. It was so much fun.
No, and Carrie might have stolen the show on the first interview. So she was just delightful, funny, and throwing out some, just some fun witticisms that she likes to do and keep people off their guard.
Yeah, some zingers there. And I think that she ended it great. And of course, referencing her dog.
So much amazing publicity for this film, lots of hype and product tie-ins and SNL sketches and all kinds of stuff. And this weekend, Carrie's amazing interview on Good Morning America went viral. And that's been my favorite piece so far. So I wanted to ask if we can expect to see Gary as some kind of long-tongued alien in the film.
I wish. I begged JJ. And Gary was willing to sleep with JJ. And I mean now. Still.
Yeah, that was the enticement.
That's why I didn't go forward. He didn't like having him on the set.
That's not true.
Oh, it
is not.
I'm gonna go get Jerry. Gary wasn't
His
allowed.
name's Gary.
His name's Alan. He was not allowed here today because of the whole tongue rule.
Yes. One other awesome thing was to listen to them talk about girl power and also diversity. We got some quotes on that and the storytelling, and Gwendolyn Christie mentioning how she was inspired by Princess Leia.
This is for Gwendolyn Christie. Were you prepared for how Captain Phasma became kind of an instant sensation among fans? And as a second part to that, do you think that positioned you possibly for a really strong run at the Captain Marvel role if Marvel happens to offer it?
I was very surprised and heartened at the overwhelming response to the character of Captain Phasma. But I really felt that what Kathleen and JJ and everyone who created at Star Wars was, I think JJ's been open about the fact that he wanted to respect the origins of the films and celebrate them, but to bring them into the modern day. And confirmation of that seemed to be, to me, in this amazing character of Captain Phasma, who is Star Wars' first on-screen female villain. And more than that, this is a character who, so far, we have related to due to her choices, due to her character, and not due to the way she has been made in flesh. And conventionally, that is how we have related to female characters. So this, to me, felt very progressive. And the response from the audience and the fans has been so celebratory. It makes me think that this is what the kind of thing people want to see. People want to see a more diverse reflection of society. And I feel incredibly privileged to play that part. If anyone else wants to offer me any work, then I am very grateful and willing to
Hi, so this question is for Carrie and Daisy. Can you talk a little bit about bringing out the girl power in the original trilogy and also The Force Awakens?
No.
Nice, you begin on this also.
I am the beginning of girl power.
Oh, and then Richard got to ask a question of the entire cast, so let's listen a bit to that.
Hey there, I'm Rich Pulaski from Skywalking Through Neverland. I'd like to know, from each of you, what was the scariest moment on your very first day of production, or what was the scariest scene to write from Mr. Kazdan?
I don't associate the process with fear. JJ and I jumped into the thing under a lot of time pressure, and we had fun. And in fact, the first day that we started real work on it, we said, we must have fun with this every day. It's really a privilege, and you have to be very lucky to get to write the next Star Wars. And so we didn't really have fear. I think we had trepidation about fulfilling people's expectations, that they be satisfied with what we came out with. But we didn't want them to know what we were going to come up with, and we wanted that this moment that's coming up next week would be a fresh moment for as many people in the world who were interested in it. So the only pressure is, can you do something that's worth that much anticipation?
Thank you. How about from each of you from the cast? What was the scariest moment that first day of your first day of production?
Bad memory. Not remembering my lines. That was scary. No, and I also, I'm the custodian of Princess Leia, so I never got out of character, and I wondered if that would be noticed. No, but I was very nervous. It's been, 40 years for other people, and it's been a long time. And I don't like looking at myself at this age in a large way. So that was scary and remains so.
This question,
For me, it was playing a motion capture character. This was something completely new to me. And walking into a room, I had to do this thing where they had to take my picture from all directions at one time. And I had to stand in the middle, and there was 360 cameras all around me. And that freaked me out.
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of terrified before most jobs. So the prospect of this, the Star Wars and all the kind of iconography associated with it, like I tried to not think about as much as possible. So maybe when it first started, and then kind of suppressing that as much as possible and trying to break it up into moments, and then that way. But I don't remember like one thing in particular that's particularly terrifying.
My whole first day was pretty terrifying. I couldn't find a moment that was any less or more than the other. I think for me it's being cast in a role, as everyone knows, I've not really done much before. So other people saw something in me that perhaps I didn't see myself, and I'm still not quite sure if it's there. So the fear of not fulfilling that potential was terrifying.
Just listening to what Lupita was saying, it just reminded me, people have said to me, I don't understand, you cast someone so beautiful as Lupita, and then you had her be a motion capture character, and I think, would it be okay if she were ugly? Anyway, I cannot wait for you to see the work that everyone on this couch has done in the movie. The scariest day for me was when Harrison Ford was injured, which was just absolutely hideous. But the every day felt like there were challenges because I knew how important this was to so many people, and I that was never a presence that went away. And so every decision I knew had this importance, and yet we had a day to make, we had a story to tell, and it was always about trying to do the best work possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was very proud of him. He got to do that. Good job. And then the rest of the event, we got to see things with Disney Infinity. There were costumes here. What else? BB-8.
We saw screen-used BB-8. So Richard and I, we have formerly interviewed, well, I don't know if I can say, I won't say his name, but we have formerly interviewed the man who is C-3PO now for all the press junkets. We interviewed him way back in March, at least. Anyway, but so we got to meet him finally. He's from the UK. And so we finally got to meet him, and it was great. And he was telling us when BB-8's going to come out, so we were like right in line first and stuff. So yeah, BB-8's awesome.
Yeah, and just getting to pose with him, I was just getting really emotional. I mean, already attached to him. I don't know anything about him. Please, BB-8, do not be the Emperor or his assistant or whatever. Just, I'm excited. But we did not get to ask the question, what's a Snoke?
We did not. I know. I was a little shy about asking a question, but Mindy Kaling did a great job just moderating, and she had some funny questions for the cast.
Yeah, the event was a hit.
It was, and it was much longer than some of the previous press junkets, so I was very excited about that. Yeah, what else? We got to see the viewers, those Verizon viewers, virtual reality viewers, and we got to make a T-shirt, basically.
And people get a chance to win some of those viewers later on. And they were asked about, not giving away what's happening in this movie and asking fans to respect not giving it away going forward. And I think that's fair. People are going to have reactions, but maybe to respect that everybody can have the experience of going, because they've tried so hard. And, it's hard sometimes to ask questions, but, they do want everybody to have that fun going forward.
Right. But there was one significant subtraction from the cast. Where's Mark Hamill?
Yeah, still the question. Where's Mark Hamill?
Poor guy. He doesn't get to do any of this fun press stuff.
I think we'll see him soon enough.
All right. This is Fangirls signing out.
All right, ladies, I want to hear about your Season of the Force little gathering where you got to ride Hyperspace Mountain.
Little gathering. It was a big gathering.
It was a big, very long gathering.
Yeah,
It was a gathering of which Teresa had to take a break from all of the crazed Star Wars people waiting in line for hours for popcorn buckets.
Well, this was opening day, right? Opening day of Season of the Force. Now I'm forgetting the date. November 16th. Right?
Yes.
And so we both happen to be there. So exciting.
By chance.
Wasn't it?
I
We
know.
said, why was it a Monday? But maybe that's why it was a Monday.
So it wouldn't be too
mad.
crowded. Yeah. It would have been crowded anyway.
It was crowded.
Yeah.
It was a weird, crazy day there. The funny thing about it is I think we figured it out, Sarah, didn't we? That the problem with Monday was that it was the day, post all of the Run Disney events.
Yeah, the Avengers Half Marathon weekend had just concluded. So, there was people there who were just on vacation who extended, who had Disney days after that. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was more packed than it had been the previous couple of days, even though it was still pretty busy. But, it was, wow. I mean, I got there pretty much close to park open. I was on a mission given to me by Richard. I was supposed to get the tire popcorn buckets in case they sold out. They didn't sell out. There was no reason for me to get there that early, but I did it and I got them. And I was walking around with these two big, giant, awkward things for hours.
Thank you, Teresa.
Texting Sarah, going, "When are y'all coming? When are y'all coming?" You're like, maybe June, maybe 1.
Yeah,
we'll be there soon. Oh, okay, cool. That's cool.
Was the popcorn good at least?
Well, I didn't put it. Okay, they never got their popcorn.
That's okay.
I didn't put it in the buckets because I didn't want it to get all greasy and gross on the inside of the buckets itself. So we got the popcorn separate and we put it in Greg's backpack, and we basically we put it in the pocket that's really small so that it wouldn't spill. And so we had snacks for the rest of the day because we had two things of popcorn in his backpack.
You didn't tell me this.
I forgot.
Now we know more.
We had snacks in line for Hyperspace Mountain.
Yes. Yeah, so that turned out well. I think it was, 5 p.m. We had a bunch of people meet up to join us in line for Hyperspace Mountain because it was literally 85 minutes at that point, the wait. Although it ended up being, I think, over 120 minutes.
Oh, it was
yeah.
It was over.
It was nuts. But it was fun because there was 23 of us, which 24 fills exactly 2 cars full on Space Mountain. So it turned out great. And we have these awesome pictures from Hyperspace Mountain.
We do. And here's the funny thing. Okay, so we got to ride Hyperspace Mountain the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard there was like soft opening stuff, and Richard was kind of like, "Oh, it's not gonna happen. I'm not that lucky." We get over there and it was open, and I have never seen a child in a candy store like Richard. He took off running. We were like, "Hey, wait for us!"
And he had just run 13.1 miles that morning.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he took off running.
So that's an accomplishment.
Okay, if people don't know Richard, he is of boundless energy anyway. So
yes,
it doesn't.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like Trisha, I don't think you've seen him after a run. He was really tired, and he had been saying like, "I'm tired, my legs hurt, all this stuff," and then all of a sudden he's running, and I'm like, "Well, that's how you get Richard to run."
Was it that he heard it was soft open, or is that what?
No, we walked up to go and see if it was open, and it was open. And so he took off running. And so luckily we got to ride it once before we waited for over 2 hours. So we're walking down to go and get in line. And I'm like, Sarah, I want to ride it with you,
Oh.
And we get down there and Richard's holding a spot for her.
Yeah.
Sarah's like, I'm not riding it with you. I'm riding it with Teresa. And the look on his face was like, well, who am I riding with?
And he rode with your husband, Teresa.
Yeah, and I was like, with Greg. And he's like, oh, okay.
Oh. Well, they were awesome photos, and thank goodness it wasn't 25 people.
Yes, yes.
I'm
that would have been sad.
I'm really proud of Sarah and I because we came up with what we were going to do for the picture, and it was great.
Yes.
So if people are going on it, where is the picture? What's the moment?
Okay,
picture?
so in the ride, you're going basically around and around in circles to the right. So you go right 3 times, and after the third time right, these are like hard rights. You go left. So after you've gone right a bunch of times, the time you go left, that's when the picture is going to be.
There you go. People
kind of towards the very end.
It's towards the end, but just know that you're going right, you're going right, you're going right. And when you go left, okay, get ready.
Or just now, every time it goes right, people are going to get their pose and they'll be like the whole ride.
Yeah.
Or just get in your pose and stay in it the whole ride.
Yeah, there you go. But that's pretty much impossible because you whip you around. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. But overall, I mean, Season of the Force is, I think we settled on, what did we settle on, Sarah? Like a B minus?
Yeah, B plus, B minus, somewhere in there. And yeah, you can hear more of our whole conversation because we recorded a bunch of people at the actual day of, including you, Teresa, and Greg, your husband. And we recorded that day. So if you go to episode 101 of Skywalking Through Neverland, you can hear a whole bunch of conversation from that and from the Avengers Half Marathon, which is fun.
Yeah. I mean, overall, like, it's a good thing, but I will say this, it is not for the super fan. It's not for me and you and everybody listening to this. I am convinced it is a marketing tool that they're using to get the people that are like, oh, I kind of like Star Wars, excited about Star Wars The Force Awakens. That's what this is for.
It's like awareness as opposed to like Star Wars weekends where we get to sit and listen to Mark Hamill talk. Or
Right. That being said, I do have my BB-8 sipper mug in the kitchen, and the TIE Fighter popcorn bucket is on the TV. So it worked for merchandise purposes.
Yes, it did. And Sarah, I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure you did, but there was new Her Universe stuff on Tuesday.
Oh.
And I picked up the new shirt that they had out. That picture is up on Instagram. But yeah, remember how there was no new merchandise the day of?
Yes.
I walked in there on Tuesday and I'm like, well, that wasn't here yesterday.
That was the Ray shirt, right?
Yes, it's the same design that she put on the kind of flowy dress.
Yes.
But it was on a very lightweight long sleeve sort of sweatshirt type with black sleeves, and I hadn't seen that before, and it was right in the front of the store, and I was like, well, that's fine.
Nice
Yeah, I saw that. I liked it. So there's tons of Her Universe stuff in the stores. There's tons of just different types of fashion stuff. And remember when we used to go and be like, oh, there's nothing in here for girls. And now it's almost overwhelming. I'm
It
not
is.
complaining. I'm not
No.
complaining, but it can be overwhelming because you're just not used to it. You're just looking for the
No.
one thing. And that was the one thing you're like, I'm buying that because that's the one thing. So
Yeah, I think my Christmas list this year of Star Wars stuff is bigger than Richard's, and that's saying something.
Yeah, mine's pretty big. I am anxiously currently awaiting my Vader Her Universe jacket. It has been
Oh.
bought and it is on its way. I can't wait to get it.
I did get the BB-8 bomber and I love it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was between the Vader and the bomber jacket, the BB-8 bomber jacket, and I was like, no, this Vader jacket's too sweet. Like
It is pretty nice. I have a lot of black leather though, so
it's my dark side coming out that I'm just like, oh, I gotta wear this with some like bright red lipstick and just like
Ooh, rock it.
You're covered, girl.
I've been putting together my outfit for The Force Awakens, so
Oh, I have to wait till the moment till I feel it. But
no, I've been putting it together slowly, piece by piece. And there's one more piece I need, and it's a BB-8 scarf that I need, and it's on Amazon. I need it.
Oh yeah, I like that. It's a the black one?
The black one, yeah.
Oh my goodness, going to Amazon right now.
And have you guys seen the new gold bubble?
Yes, the leggings.
Yes, the new
Yeah.
leggings, BB-8 leggings. There's either black
See,
or
I always miss the gold bubble stuff.
It just came out.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh.
it just came out.
New stuff. So it's just
All the new
Too much.
So
too much stuff.
Where's our money that's made from trees? Damn
I
it.
have none. And I'm done. Podcasting. No more shopping. Okay.
That's
so
all right.
you went to a costume exhibit.
I did go to a costume exhibit. I got to go into the preview night with author Jason Fry, who some people might know, who I've asked to come on the show and he's agreed. So now it's out in the open. He's coming at some point. We will ask him about rating Star Wars books and galactic maps and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. But he's an awesome, fun guy. And we got to go through the exhibit together and just check it out. So I was in the one in Seattle at the EMP, the one in New York Times. You know, the EMP is like this huge, impressive museum. And then the Times Square Discovery Museum is, you can't even tell it's there. There's like a banner, a billboard in bright lights, because everything in Times Square is in bright lights, but it's so small compared to everything else. And then you go in and you go down in this basement, but there's more costumes. It's a bigger exhibit. There's more Padme costumes.
Wow.
There was this amazing, it was a room of mirrors with stormtrooper helmets all in it at your kind of eye level. And it was incredible. Just the way it was laid out, and it was different. And then we had the Force Awakens costumes in there. So if you've been to Seattle, this is a totally different experience. I would recommend it if you're in New York City. It doesn't take more than an hour to go through. You could probably go through longer. And I got to go through the Hunger Games exhibit at the same time, which is now going to be gone. And that's going to San Francisco, which I highly recommend too. But they're totally different experiences. So, but it's so much fun to see everything. And then after we went through, we caught up with Erish from Star Wars Books. And we had a little dinner, and it was an amazing time just to be sitting there and thinking, a few years ago, this wasn't even like, there's going to be a movie, and just kind of being excited to be Star Wars fans. So it was a great experience, and there will definitely be a piece coming up in the Star Wars Insider about some of the things I discovered about Padme just by looking at her costumes and the way they arranged it. I don't even think it was intentional, but it was really cool to see them all arranged and just look at the, how she was, very covered up in some things and hiding herself, and then very, open and revealing in other things, especially from the Attack of the Clones. And it really shows up when you can see all the costumes lined up in a row. Beautiful the way they did it.
Wow. Awesome. Now that you say that, I wonder if her more open and revealing costumes are on Naboo, where she's more comfortable.
Yes, in the Lake Retreat, and that's one of my favorites. Is the one in the beat with it's actually the robe that she wears over the nightgown when she goes out after he has the bad dream, and you just can see all the little knots that they had to hand do, and that's how long is she in that for? Probably a minute. In the movie?
Like a minute or two.
They spent like probably hundreds of hours to get that made.
Wow.
Crazy. Just to look at the costumes, and then, the wedding dress with the thousands of pearls sewn onto it. Just crazy how beautiful they are. I recommend it. So go enjoy it. And then it's just been one of those kind of crazy, there's so many things happening. We couldn't even talk about all the things that are exciting to us. So we're doing our Fangirls Going Rogue thing and listing it, right?
Yep. It's a pajama party list. Okay, so I'll start. I'm just going to rapid fire through mine. There have been a lot of talk show appearances lately. Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Harrison Ford, or as I like to type it out in show notes, Han, and JJ have all been on Good Morning America. And all I can say is if you haven't gotten a chance to look at those, go and find the clips online. They are great. The chemistry between Daisy and John is amazing. It's kind of similar to how we talk about the chemistry between the Rebels cast or the Clone Wars cast. It's just there. They're great. They play off of each other. You get to hear John Boyega do his impersonation of Pinocchio from Shrek, which is hilarious. Harrison Ford was great too on there. He makes a lot of jokes. He's being really lighthearted. They did probe him a little bit about his wanting to be rid of Star Wars kind of thing, and he actually had some good comebacks, and so I'm not going to ruin all of it, but probably the biggest thing that JJ said on that appearance on Good Morning America was that he was hoping that this film would be a film that mothers would take their daughters to.
Well, this Star Wars is always about, it was always a boys thing, and a movie that dads could take their sons to. And though that's still very much the case, I was really hoping this could be a movie that mothers take their daughters to as well. So I'm looking forward to, to kids seeing this movie and seeing themselves in it and seeing that they're capable of doing things that they could never imagine possible.
And I thought that was really, really awesome.
It was interesting because he said that on GMA and there was a social media reaction. I reacted the same way a lot of people did. Was the way he phrased it, I believe, was speaking to the perception and not necessarily to the truth of Star Wars, of girls being into Star Wars, because we know that the original fan club was run by women. Most of the fanzines that kept it going in the late 70s were women. There were a lot of women into Star Wars early on, and it became more considered a boys franchise as marketing for merchandise became more gendered. So there were some people who didn't like the way he phrased that, including myself. I felt like it fed the perception instead of what they were trying to do. When J.J. Abrams went on AOL Build, he rephrased the way he said it and specifically mentioned that women have always been part of Star Wars. So they responded to the social media reaction from the GMA segment, and he rephrased the way he said it and talked about the female characters and mentioned specifically that there was only one female character really for women to attach into each of the other two trilogies, but they were making that more options for women for different characters like Captain Phasma, obviously, and Rey. So we have, and Princess Leia. I mean, we were already talking about, and Lupita Nyong'o as Maz Kanata. So, I mean, we're already talking about more female characters than we even had as options in the original trilogy. So it was nice to see them respond to that.
Yeah, that's good. And then we also have had over the past 3 days, we've had, again, Han or Harrison Ford, Adam Driver, and J.J. Abrams all on the Jimmy Fallon show. And actually tonight, as we record this, it's December 3rd, Daisy Ridley will be on Jimmy Fallon tonight as well. And those have been very entertaining. The J.J. Abrams conversation was really, really good. I actually quite enjoyed it. And it kind of goes back to just sort of their relationship of Jimmy and J.J. and things like that. So that was pretty good. But the Harrison Ford one by far is the best. There's a little bit of mutilation of a Han Solo doll. There's an introduction of a drink called the Millennium Fallon. And there's a lot of jokes about the fact that Harrison Ford has been Academy Award nominated, but has never won.
The best part was he went with it.
Yes.
Like after it started, he just like went with it and kept feeding it.
You would like me to sit here? I'm an Academy Award.
No, I know. I heard the intro. I read the intro. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I didn't win.
I apologize. You should have won. You should have won.
Which is why I came here to talk about. I came here to talk about it.
That's the therapy.
About not winning.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford is a very sharp man.
I'm interested to see how he does with Daisy Ridley. And if I know Jimmy Fallon, and I do because I watch his show like every night. Well, I don't. I record it and then I watch it later. But he can get really awkward around girls. So it is very entertaining. So I can't wait.
Well, my number one thing of all this Force Awakens madness launch that they're doing, global launch of it, has just been Harrison Ford in general enjoying it, which for so long that was my whole fear of everybody was wanting the cast back, and my whole fear was that I was going to watch him be miserable through the press of it, and it was going to make me not love Han Solo as much, or his role as Han Solo, because I had such high praises for him in my article in Star Wars Insider, about him and what he brought to Han Solo, and I've just the whole thing's made me smile. So thank you, Harrison, even if you're acting, but I don't think you are. It seems very genuine, just the way he's been enjoying that and maybe J.J. Abrams helped that because he seemed to have a lot of high praise for him. So, although I did like him sort of riffing on oh, poor J.J. Abrams hurt his back trying to rescue you. Like, Harrison was like, yeah, poor J.J. Abrams.
They close a door on me.
No, it was Harrison. Yeah, all right. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't do it.
No, JJ did it.
J.J. Abrams?
As far as I know.
So they closed the door on you?
He's an Academy Award nominated director.
He's got the Academy.
Funny.
Sarah, what's been your favorite thing from all this?
Well, yeah, Harrison Ford is definitely, like you've seen him a couple years ago and he's so lethargic in interviews, it's like he seemed so old man and now he's so upbeat and like excited, and it's just great to see. So I just wanted to second that. But one of my favorite things that happened just last night, I think it was that last night? Time goes so fast. Was this Force for Fashion show that happened in New York. So I was like on my computer and my Twitter blew up when her universe, Ashley Eckstein, tweeted out a picture of her with Ray buns. So the 3 buns in the back of her head, and she was attending Force for Fashion event. And I was like, well, what is this? And she tweeted out pictures of Daisy Ridley and John Boyega and Lupita Nyong'o who were attending the same event. So I went and looked. And so the Force for Fashion show, it's Disney Consumer Products and Bloomingdale's. They brought together 10 top designers to create 10 looks inspired by characters from The Force Awakens. So on December 2nd, they had this fashion show to reveal these looks, and they will be auctioned off for charity on CharityBuzz.com, and they're calling it Force for Fashion. So this is another branch of Force for Change, and I thought that was really cool. And Jonna Marie Macias of thewookiegunner.com was also attending this event, or at least tweeting about it. I don't know, but I know she will have a blog post up on this event as well. So I'm excited to read that. And everyone go check out thewookiegunner.com for more information.
She's done a great job covering it. Mm-hmm. And Kay also covered a lot of stuff for this, not at the event, but she's leading up to it with what the charities are for and how they worked out, these are on display. And it's just really cool because the Force for Fashion is a way for different people to become engaged in Star Wars in a different way. Mm. And so these are, designers, but Lupita's dress was designed, it lights up and it changes. And that was incredible. And that was a Zach Posen design, but he teamed up with Google, and it's a part of an effort to get girls into coding, because that's been a real problem where young girls have been discouraged from going into that type of career. And that was actually part of their effort. So young woman coded that, a 22-year-old woman.
The dress,
The dress to make the
wow.
lights go different. Yeah, that's why it was hard to get good pictures, because they had to take the picture right when the lights were lit up. So it was a 22-year-old named Maddie Maxey. And there's an article on the Mary Sue about just how they did this, because Lupita's acting on Broadway, and so she had to interrupt her schedule to go for this, which I think is really cool that we had somebody who's acting on Broadway who's going to be in the movie too. So
wow, awesome.
Teresa, you get to do your number 2.
Sorry, I was looking at all the pictures from the Force.
I know. It's
oh,
like
woo.
It's distracting. They're so cool. It's just different.
Well, I'm very distracted by John Boyega's purple jacket. Because that's awesome. Yeah, my number 2. I'm gonna run through mine really quick because there's not much to say. Star Wars Rebels was renewed for season 3. Whee! Yay! However, because of that renewal, I am firmly committed in my belief that someone will die at the end of the season. And then, as of recording, I only have 12 days until I get to be with Riley and Bethany Blanton and Steve Glosson and seeing Star Wars The Force Awakens. So I am like, so excited. And then, guys, today, I'm proud. I don't know if I'm proud of myself or I don't know how it happened, but Mark Hamill favorited my tweets today.
Yay! Which one was it? What was it about?
The Beatles.
Oh.
He really likes the Beatles, so he favorited my tweet with my tattoo picture of my strawberry on my arm, and favorited tweets about us talking about the Beatles because he likes them. And I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Did you tag him in the tweets, or did he just find your tweets?
I don't know how it happened. Somebody replied, I think, and had tagged him in it because he really likes the Beatles, and then he just kind of kept watching the conversation. And
awesome!
Wow!
It's like, so you're gonna follow me now, right? Like, if I say enough stuff about the Beatles, you're gonna click that follow button. But I don't know if he did.
Did you see his exchange with Ryan Johnson, the director of Episode 8, where
No.
he tweeted at him, and then it's in Club Jade's Twitter roundup.
Ooh.
If you read those are some of my favorite every week. She rounds up, but essentially he's just, Ryan's like, I don't know you. Why are you tweeting at me?
Oh.
So they were just like messing with each other. So Mark's great, and he was great in that Force for Change video, just out in his stormtrooper outfit, saying, who do you want to meet if you could go to the opening? And the lady's like, I want to meet Mark Hamill. And he just looks at the camera, with this look, but she doesn't know it's Mark Hamill in the stormtrooper costume.
Wow.
I love it. Oh, on the Star Wars Rebels front, one of my favorite things that happened this week was Ahsoka versus the Seventh Sister and the Fifth Brother.
Woohoo!
And since we talked about this, I'm going to ask you guys, in their little conversation about the Seventh Sister, between themselves, did you get any more sense of who was higher than the other?
It seemed like the Fifth Brother was higher.
That's what I got out of that, but then you never know how they'll twist it. So
Right. It seemed like she was needling him because she's trying to get higher or something like that. Like, oh, you should have done better, Fifth Brother, because you're higher than me.
Yeah.
See, and I didn't get any of that. I just got I didn't really focus in on the numbers as much as I focused in on the brother and the sister, the tone in those two words. Rather than the number. But there was definitely something going on there. But then I got more of a sense of like who was more powerful and stuff as you go through the episode. And then when they're fighting with Ahsoka, he basically I was just lay down. Let the girls deal with this. You don't have enough stick kills. Just go away. I'm not a Fifth Brother fan. I've discovered.
Right.
I would rather conniving, creepy, very just sort of twisty Seventh Sister.
And she is she's definitely twisty, but I have to say that moment when Ahsoka caught her blade and she sort of just put her weapon down, and then
oh my god,
and then I was like, okay, she's gonna do her in. I was going, she's gone, and then she doesn't kill her. Okay, well, we do know
women have respect for other women.
Yeah, and she also, took on the energy of the the daughter in the Mortis arc. So I feel like that's not a literal representation, but maybe in the way that she's chosen a path. And that's going to be, it's very Luke Skywalker, not to, she laid down her weapon, but she still fought. But it's, the Jedi thing is about not for attack, only for defense. And she didn't choose to finish her off. She just chose, and maybe that's a path for her to help redeem the seventh sister or something, because she's never. Yeah. Well, if you think about it, though, if she was taken as a baby, you never had a chance.
I'm just saying that purely on the basis of I don't want her to be redeemed. I need dark and twisty. Like she just needs to stay in that awesome realm of dark and twisty. There's a great line though in the show where Ahsoka says, "This is Jedi business," and Kanan says, "Well, I can do that. I guess that's me." And she goes, "You more than me." Just like,
oh yeah, it was very. I liked it. I liked the banner, I liked the whole thing. So
yeah, this was the episode. I've been waiting for this episode for a while. I don't know. I didn't even know about it, but I was like, this is the episode I need. I need the baby episode.
Well, I found it hilarious that they were like, what do they want with these babies? It's like, isn't it obvious, guys? These babies are strong in the Force.
Yeah, well, it's almost like Kanan wasn't really willing to accept what the Jedi were willing to do by taking, like, he's starting to realize who the Jedi were too. He hadn't thought much about it. The only thing Kanan has ever thought about is that he's lost his master and all these horrible things have happened. But perhaps he's starting to realize some of the things that the Jedi Order did are very similar to what the Sith are willing to do. It's like the lights going off in his head. That's what I saw. And, that it's not that people are like, why wouldn't he know? And I'm like, he was 13. He just hadn't made that connection yet, that they all didn't really have a choice. They just grew up embedded in this Jedi temple, and that's what he knew how to do. So that was my moment. Definitely them. And then my other favorite thing from this whole is just the Daisy Ridley rollout. How she's been willing to talk about being vulnerable and scared. Would she say she doesn't even remember some of the filming because it was just happening and she was doing it. And, it was one of those things that it's in there and then you have to process it. And then, her work, she has her Fitness Friday stuff and she's just positive body image. And, she deals so well with the people on social media, which has got to be hard. It's like going to build a profile and I have to deal with people. And she does it all with style and grace and she looks amazing. And they've been very good about not confusing. She is a very sexy young woman and she's in great shape, but they're not confusing the message about the character. We don't need to have necessarily, the slave Leia to make for everybody to feel, there's not blurring the line. And I like that. So she can go in Elle magazine and look awesome and amazing. And then she can be in the movie and she doesn't have hardly any makeup, or, she can be both. And I loved it. I love that everything that they're doing with it. So bravo, Star Wars and Daisy Ridley. Sarah, what are your highlights? You got a couple more.
Oh yeah, well I have one more, and that is that liningup.net is running a charity event that is happening at the Mann's Chinese Theater, or what is now called the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood. And what's going to happen is the Line Awakens. So basically, people waiting in line from December 5th through December 17th, really, is we're all going to be waiting in line for charity for the Starlight Children's Foundation. And so Richard and I will be participating in this. We're going to be trying to log 24 hours in those 2 weeks. And when we hit 24 hours, we are guaranteed tickets to see that first showing of The Force Awakens at the Chinese Theater with a whole bunch of super fans. So with
just do it the first day. Just line up 24 hours. From the 5th to the 6th. Done.
Yeah, I wish, but I gotta work.
What is that?
I know. But we're super excited, and every spare minute that we're not working or being Santas or Mrs. Clauses or whatever, we will be at the Hollywood line. And you can also donate if you like. So look for tweets from me at Jedi Tink, and I'm going to be tweeting out easy peasy text codes that you can donate, like $5 each time if you want. And it's going to be kind of a light side versus dark side thing. So depending on what text code you tweet, you can either donate for dark or light side, and we'll see which one wins at the end. So it's all for the Starlight Children's Foundation, and it's super exciting. And also, Richard and I, of course, will be representing Skywalking Through Neverland while we're in line, and we'll have our recorders. We'll be getting a bunch of footage, and I know there's tons of people who are going to come, and there's been surprises that happen, and people that show up maybe from Star Wars Rebels or from the movies that might show up. So hopefully I'll be able to bring you some stories when next we meet.
Nice. Well, I got in the mail some giveaways for our listeners. And, Teresa teased earlier that there are things happening. And one of the things happening is we have a new email. We have a new email that I tweeted out the other day, and it's contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. We even have a fangirlsgoingrogue.com.
Woohoo!
And we already got an email.
What does that mean?
We got an email?
Yes.
Oh, emails.
But wait, first we got an email, but the first 4 people who email to us and say, I want a virtual reality glass from Verizon so that you can look at the app and go into the world of Star Wars, I will send it to you. You have to be from the United States. So that's our giveaway for this episode. So all you have to do is email contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com and say, I want a virtual reality glass, and I will send it to you. 4 people.
But they should also include
your
address.
No, it's more fun. It's more fun when people say it and then you're like, where do I send it to? No, but yeah, it's okay. You don't have to. You could just send it, and then I'll say you're a winner and where do you send it to. But if everybody sends me their address, that's fine too. So
that's true.
We want your addresses.
We want your address.
Just send us all of your addresses. Hey guys, do you know your address?
Do you know your address or your address? I got it.
The correct response is, do you know your shirt? Okay, and I have to talk about this really quick. If you get a chance, please go listen to Geek Out Loud. I will figure out what the episode number is and give it to Trisha to put in the show notes. There's a little girl on there. Her name is Wesley, and she is adorable talking about Star Wars. Cutest thing I've ever seen. And her dad asked her, hey, Wesley, do you know your address? And she says, do you know your shirt?
I love that.
Oh, I get it.
Teresa had already told me this when we recorded.
Okay. I just had a blonde moment.
No, it's not. I already knew the joke when we recorded our Hunger Games episode for Fangirl Chat, so I knew the joke. That's why when she said it, I got it. So you weren't missing anything, nor was anybody else listening. You didn't miss anything. But it is funny when you hear it.
That's so cute.
But Courtney sent us an email, and she asked.
This is our first email that we got.
This is our first email.
Okay.
Yes. And she asked us a question. So I'm going to read the beginning of her email and the question, and then we're going to talk about it. Because if you ask us questions, we like when you ask us questions, because then we can talk about them and we know what you want to know. So that's part of that contact too, is let us know what you want to hear about. So she said, I just discovered the podcast. Woohoo! Fangirl flail. That's me inserting. I am so excited for The Force Awakens. I have had a hard time finding girls into Star Wars. Anyone really. Long story on that, but I'm basically just a big nerd all alone here. My daughter just turned 6 and she loves Star Wars. I introduced her to the series. I'm just catching up with your podcast, but something cool you might want to talk about is how to introduce your kids to Star Wars. Do you start with the OT or the prequels? So we've all been introduced to it a different way. So Teresa, how would you, if you had a kid, how would you introduce your kid? Or if you had a friend, how would you introduce your friend?
If I had people to introduce Star Wars to 1 through 7, and yes, I said 7. Yeah, I would go Phantom Menace to Force Awakens in order.
Okay.
All right, Sarah.
So, you know what? I think that episode 4, A New Hope, just grabs you. So I would have to show that one first. So I'm of the opinion 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6. So that you still get a little bit of that redemption, story arc at the end. So
Yes,
I think that's what I would do. And then
there's been much
7.
discussion on it. And then we might all change our order.
Right. When 7 comes out.
Right, or maybe not, but that's
7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, and some people that's going to be their order. Is that the craziest thing?
Yeah.
That,
No, that's true.
That some people 7 will be the first movie. My one of my friends at the barn, she has a son who's grown. He's my age. And she said, we just watched Star Wars over Thanksgiving weekend. He had never seen it. And yeah, he'd never seen it. And I'm like, really? Because like his job is in pop culture. I'm like, how can you even report like do stuff in pop culture if you don't know about Star Wars? And she said he loved it. He saw 4 first and he was just enraptured by it.
Good.
Yeah, I go 1 to 7 just because I like the politics story and I like all of that stuff. And I like the journey of Anakin a lot.
Well, what about you, Trisha? Did you say your order?
Well, it would be right now. It's funny because at work I am the DVD Blu-ray loaner out on the library, the Star Wars library. It's true, and so I suggested to the one gentleman who has in my office who I'm trying to think of. I think he has 7 kids. So talk about the number of kids that are introducing to it. So, and then I had another guy come by and he's like, well, we're showing my kids and like, is there anything they can't see? And I'm like, this really depends on you. I think the worst thing in Revenge of the Sith, which is the only PG-13 right now, is I don't even think the limbs chopped off got it over the edge. I think it's Anakin Krispy Kreme. Yeah. Just laying there that pushes it over the edge, and glowing and screaming, I hate you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so he won, and I told him 4 or 5, and then I said, go back after that, because you get the, for someone who's going to just see it and just the kids, when they go, oh, wait, Vader's his father. And then you go back and tell them the story, and then you get to see the redemption. So, and then if I had could say to anybody, you have to see Return of the Jedi with the Ewok ending.
Yep.
The yub yub.
Yub yub.
That's you have to do it with yub yub. I get so depressed when it comes on and it doesn't end with yub yub that I go and find it on YouTube and I play the song and dance around. It's just not the same, especially if you got kids. Sam Witwer talked about this. Return of the Jedi there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of people getting blown up, and I know it's just spaceships, but you still kind of absorb it, and the Ewoks make it so you're like, okay, teddy bears, we're okay, and then and then you're back into it. So the kids, I recommend the Yub Yub dance party at the end.
Oh.
Sidious, Anakin, Luke and Leia, Qui-Gon Jinn, C.O. Bibble, Kylo Ren, Salacious Crumb, Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, Amidala, Wicket, R2-D2, BB-8, I can barely keep it straight. It's a character discussion. It's the Fangirls on character. It's a character discussion.
All right, so this is a special character discussion that we're having tonight, and it was inspired by 2 episodes from Star Wars Rebels, The Lost Commanders and Relics of the Old Republic. And that reintroduced Rex, Wolf, and Gregor, some of the fans' favorite clones. And I immediately thought of the way they're reacting, and sort of you could see the trauma of the Clone Wars coming out and the characters just in the way they acted. And I thought there's the perfect person to have come in and discuss this. So we are so happy to have Drea Letamendi back on our show. She was on episode 6, and we had a wonderful discussion. And Dre, you want to give people who haven't heard you a little bit of your background so they know why it's really wonderful that you're here talking to us?
Sure. Well, first, thank you so much for thinking of me and having me on again. I'm so happy to chat with you ladies. My name is Dr. Andrea Letamendi. I'm a clinical psychologist. I have a PhD in clinical psychology. And in addition to doing some writing and speaking, I focus primarily on how mental health is represented in fictional characters or fictional narratives. And on the flip side, I try to just kind of like what we say in my field, give psychology away, like talk about the science of psychology and talk about topics and subjects that maybe aren't normally addressed or normally really, I guess, explored in pop culture. And so I like to bring that into pop culture and kind of make, hopefully, pop culture a little bit more interesting and fun with that psychology background.
We're so appreciative that you're here, and just to talk about it, and specifically the clones. And Rex is a favorite, and Rex shines in these episodes, just coming back, and everyone was excited to see him. But the two that struck me were definitely Wolf and Gregor, and they were manifesting different ways that you could see the war had affected them. And Gregor was a favorite from a short arc, and he came and went. He had amnesia also during the Clone Wars that he had been in. So he not only was isolated from the clones for a long time by the war, he had head trauma. And I know there are different ways that head trauma can affect people in real life. And then you add on to the war. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I first want to say I really appreciate what the Clone Wars did for us in the sense that you have what ostensibly are the same person, right? Genetically, you have the same individual genetic makeup, but so many different outcomes and personalities and what we would say like trajectories that really allow us to kind of explore how people really unfold and how people develop in terms of their emotional makeup and their cognitive makeup and the decisions they make, especially in war. And so I thought that the Clone Wars really, really did a wonderful thing to kind of set that up for us. And you're right about this particular individual who experienced amnesia as well as head trauma. And what usually happens, I mean, every person is different in terms of their reaction, but what usually happens is with both traumatic brain injury and an emotional or psychological injury like a trauma, seeing war, almost losing their life. I mean, with Gregor, he essentially, I think some folks thought that he actually died, right?
Yes.
There was this big question mark about him. Like he was this heroic figure who was known for his sacrifice, was known to just go out and put himself on the line and really embody that idea of loyalty and community and sacrifice. And ultimately what we learn is that he survived all that. And he did so with so much injury, physically and emotionally. So what I'm getting at is that there are multiple outcomes or multiple possible outcomes, but usually there's a lot of loss following those kinds of injuries when they come together. There's a lot of memory loss. There's a lot of cognitive functioning that gets lost or gets distorted in some ways. So you might have memories that aren't exactly accurate or aren't clear. You might have problems in thinking and problem solving. You might have distortions even in reality, like what's real to him. So when I watched with The Lost Commanders, I was so fascinated with how he's presented here. I mean, what did you guys think about his personality there?
Is The Lost Commanders the first one of the two?
Yes.
So Drea, just so you know, I actually teach health on the high school level, and I have to teach about mental health. And we were just, actually talking about all of that. And for me, like when I see when I see Gregor in these episodes, I see somebody who has obviously been through brain trauma. I see somebody who has been through a lot just in traumatic events, and we know that people that have been through brain trauma or traumatic events, even, they can suffer from depression and things like that. And I almost recognized it as some of the things that he was doing were sort of defense mechanisms to sort of help him deal, because he doesn't have maybe the coping skills and the skills that you would normally have, that you develop problem solving skills to kind of get you through some of those moments. And I was recognizing just a lot of more of on the defense mechanism side, but I also could be reading a lot into that.
I agree with you. I mean, it's interesting because I've heard some people think of him now as sort of being off base.
Yeah.
Referring to just sort of how different his personality is, and I kind of had to look back and remind myself about this character because he's changed dramatically.
He's a little goofy. It comes off as goofy.
Definitely.
I mean, he comes off as goofy, but that there's so much pain in that. I think of, it reminds me sometimes of, like a Robin Williams, somebody who's, their defense mechanism is almost to be funny or goofy or to not take things serious. And, that's not because they're not taking life serious in their head. It's just that, they're trying to act differently. But I also thought it was interesting that he was bonding with Zeb, and who's had a lot of, we don't get to see a lot of what happened to him, but we do know that he was very alone and isolated and lost his core group of warrior team that he had been with. So it was interesting that they connected.
Yeah, I appreciated that.
Yeah, it makes sense that they would connect, because a lot of the way that Zeb deals with his trauma that he went through is very similar to what Gregor's doing. Some people tend to react to trauma in more of a very strong sort of hostile way. And that is kind of what Zeb's doing. But Zeb's being forced out of that box by Ezra, if you think about it, because Ezra's sort of forcing him to kind of have to deal with life. And I just made that connection like right now.
That's why we talk about these things. And then Wolf was on the paranoid side.
Now, Wolf is the one who has the eye.
Yeah, and
the glass eye, right?
He's the one has been apparently calling the Imperial people to report things.
Yes.
He keeps, turning him in, which is totally, just a different spectrum. People are out to get him. He's trying to still do his thing, but not in a, not necessarily in a way that shows that he's thinking rationally about stuff. He's reacting to things.
Yeah,
immediately.
I agree with that. I think that Wolf is incredibly, he's not hostile. He seems to be on guard. He seems to be he's not trusting anybody. And I think that some of that makes sense. Some of that is logical. He is holding on for years and years. He's held on to the idea that he felt betrayed, the idea that the three of them essentially were, they were the ones that disobeyed Order 66. And yet they were part of that group symbolically. They had betrayed the Jedi, and there's some confusion. And I think that what comes after that kind of betrayal, certainly, as you mentioned, there could be some paranoia, there could be some hypervigilance, but there also could be a fundamental shift in someone's cognitive and especially their moral beliefs. And oftentimes we could call it moral distress, or we could call it a moral shift. But what happened with him is that he can't trust these Jedi that have come in and that are asking for help. And what he ends up doing is, behind their backs, he's betraying them. He's essentially selling them to the Empire, which is interesting because he's doing exactly what was sort of done to him. And it's his way of gaining control, his way of ensuring that he's safe. And I think for him, fundamentally, it's about staying safe. It's about staying alive.
Yeah. And then poor Rex has to deal with his team, who seems like he's been the the binding part of the three of them that are left out there alone. And now he has to deal with, sort of disappointments from his own team, men that he loves and has kept together and held together. And at the same time, deal with a Jedi who is not trusting him. And he knows why. Kanan doesn't want to go there, but he's trying to make things right. And it's interesting to see him just like hasn't had a purpose except to keep these two guys going. And he's in these 2 episodes, he's finding a purpose and finding something to do. I know Jonah Marie would hope that Rex could be in everything. And she said that, he has to work and serve a purpose, but he seemed to find his purpose in Ezra. He's seen Jedi train other Jedi. Kanan has never taught another Jedi. And here's Rex going, that's not, he doesn't know how to do it, but I've seen it happen. I actually know how you train a Jedi.
Right. And you see him start to establish that mentorship. He's pulling out commander and he's trying to use those words, general. And, of course, Kanan is rejecting of those things, but we see that he's trying to establish trust and loyalty and mentorship. And as we've known about Rex, he's okay with taking orders. He's okay with not being top dog. Like you said, his purpose is to defend. His purpose is whatever mission that, his captain or his commander is fighting for. And I think that you see this shift with him as well in the second episode, Relics of the Old Republic, where it's like life is back in them. And this happens for all three, Wolf, Gregor, and Rex, where, like you said, there's this purpose again, and they start to shift back into some of their old habits and some of their old ways to find enthusiasm and encouragement in life again. And it's really great to see that. And what's interesting is that I started to wonder at that point, wow, they really are isolated out there. Was this by choice? I was realizing that up till now, they've been pretty isolated, and it seems as though that's kind of how they want it to be.
Yeah, you see, my dad was a Vietnam vet, and you see a lot of people come home. I have another friend whose husband served over in Afghanistan, and my friend's husband really wanted to withdraw. He wanted to just go live somewhere that was quiet and not be around people. That was his reaction afterwards, which is not that unusual from what I've seen of other vets. And that there's almost like a withdrawal, maybe because people don't understand what you've been through. Maybe you think that people, for them especially, they had a purpose, and then you take it all away and people don't understand who you are anymore. So rather than try to, you have to find a new purpose with people who don't understand the things that they can do, which is essentially be super soldiers. But we don't want you anymore now. They're almost a threat to the people in the empire because they know too much. They know too many things. But it's interesting because later on we see with Rex that he's knows these codes. He knows the ways to do things. He essentially invented the way to do things, and he can work his way through, an adventure as posing as an Imperial because he knows essentially all their protocols because they established them.
Right.
And
even though he's too fat for their armor.
And very uncomfortable.
We definitely got some comedy, trying to stuff him back into the Stormy armor. So.
Well, I thought so Gregor and Wolf stay on Selos. Is that they don't come out of retirement?
Yeah, and Dave Filoni talked to that. He said that they weren't ready. They're not ready to go back. Rex is in a different place. He can do this. He can handle it, but he's not gonna. They're gonna stay fishing, and fishing in the desert for whatever those big things were they sent Zeb after. Rex goes on and joins the rebels, and they stay behind. And then in what that shows, though, for them and for other people is that you can get to the other side of a war also and keep on go. They are still going. They have their issues, but they are still progressing through life and doing something, and maybe putting their skills to work in, hunting these big things in the desert. There is something to the adrenaline rush of war that you take. You've taken that away from them, so they have to find another way to reproduce the thrill of winning something.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how Wolf and Gregor are going to do without Rex. Like how is that dynamic going to work?
That's interesting. They should explore that. They should just dedicate an episode to like back on Silos and see how they're doing.
So Drea just did what we always do on Fangirls Going Rogue, is we make a pitch for something.
Yeah, pitching ideas.
You just pitch an idea. Yep. So very good. We applaud that.
Yay. So it would be called Back on Silos.
Yes.
Assuming that's where they are. I think that's where they are.
It'd be one of those like flashback things you see in an episode, and meanwhile, back on Silos.
And they're fishing.
Yeah. And
They're
Gregor's hanging from the I don't know what the thing is, the crawler walker thing they're in. He's hanging from the bottom of it, just like laughing and drawing stand pictures.
Yeah, just like in the Clone Wars, I think that this is a helpful couple of episodes that you're right, that really allows us to see that there are multiple outcomes when it comes to post-combat life, whether they're actual service members or veterans. This is not uncommon in that, yeah, many of them are going to live a very different lifestyle, even an isolated lifestyle where they're not doing anything that's similar to what they did while they were deployed or while they were, considered in the service. Whereas others will find new purpose. It's very much in alignment with what their core values are if they're able to function that way in a way that's adaptive. And I think there's a lot of in between there where we may imagine that, okay, they're not back in combat, or they haven't joined the rebels, but perhaps in their mind they're doing something that's meaningful and purposeful, and putting all their skills and all their beliefs into practice, and for them that's really fulfilling. So I think that it's a stellar couple of episodes that kind of shows us where they're at, and they do so realistically.
Yeah. And we again are so, because we're going to wrap up our character discussion. We are so appreciative for you coming out and talking about this. And I think maybe after The Force Awakens comes out, we need to do this again, because we're going to see the ramifications of the end of Return of the Jedi and everything that happens. Dre, have you read Lost Stars by Claudia Gray, the young adult book that ties in to...
I have not read Lost Stars.
Well, yes. Knowing your interests and the aftermath of war and the destruction of Alderaan and then the destruction of Death Star, I think you would be highly interested in that book. It's a pretty easy read, and it goes through the events, but from different characters' point of views in their Imperials. And you should definitely check it out, because they explore how people react in very unique ways to what happens with Alderaan and the Death Star. So
awesome.
I would recommend that. And I know you have a TED Talk out there, which people should check out. And is there anything else where people can find you and your podcast and your Twitter and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to interact with me, whether you have a question or you want to send me a message, is Twitter. My Twitter handle is @ArkhamAsylumDoc. And I also have a website, underthemaskonline.com. And there you can find links to my podcast with my co-host, Brian Ward. And our podcast is all about the psychology of Batman, the animated series. And it's called The Arkham Sessions. So you can find links to episodes on my website. And yes, my TED Talk is online. You can just search my name, TED Talk, and it's about the psychology of superheroes.
I recommend it. Definitely people watch it. It's awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, by the way, I am actually right now reading A Moving Target.
Ooh.
By Cecil Castellucci. I'm not sure if you guys have read that, but it's awesome.
Yes.
I think we've all read it.
all the Journey to the Force Awakens, they dropped a lot on us and we had to catch up. For everybody has to catch up. But definitely put Lost Stars on your list, because when you look at what she did with those characters, it was all about motivations and what happens to people. So
Will do.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for having me.
Yes, we'll do this again.
So at the top of the show, we teased that there were big changes. In the middle of the show, we teased a new email at fangirlsgoingrogue.com. But now it's time for us to break the big news to you guys. And who better to do that than Trisha Barr? Trisha was the forefront of the show. She's the one that brought me on. And I can think of nobody better to introduce what is happening with Fangirls Going Rogue. Trisha?
Well, this was an amazing opportunity for us to be part of Rebel Force Radio, and Jimmy Mack and Jason got me into podcasting by having me on to talk a little bit about killing Luke Skywalker years ago. And then one day I got an email and Jimmy Mack wanted to know if I had the podcasting bug because he'd seen me around chatting, and they wanted to have a place for where fangirls could talk too on Rebel Force Radio. So they gave us the opportunity to create the show. They gave us the place to really their presence to help lift us up. And one of our messages has always been to give more people voices. And now it's time for Fangirls Going Rogue to get out of the nest and fly. And we are becoming our own show and our own feed with our own website, fangirlsgoingrogue.com. And that will be the place, the destination where you will go to listen to our episodes. In order to make that change, we need your help. We need you to listen to our show. We need you to subscribe to our feed and support us. And this has been something it's a mutual decision. It's an exciting opportunity for us. And it's an exciting opportunity for Rebel Force Radio to really define their brand, which is Jimmy Mack and Jason. And they have given us so much. And I'm just so grateful for everything they've done. And they're like our brothers in the Force. But this is something I think as we go forward with The Force Awakens and all the things that are happening and all the opportunities, that we can finally be our own fangirls and really bring out what we want to be as individuals too. So, we're off and flying. So, Teresa.
Well, for me, I just wanted to make sure that I left a message here for everybody that's listened and for all of y'all's support that you've given us, and to all of the listeners of Rebel Force Radio that have found us through us being a part of the Rebel Force Radio feed. But Fangirls Going Rogue has really given me something that I never thought in a million years that I would have, which is this platform to really reach out to the community and to talk about all of the stuff that we talk about, whether it's what's a Snoke or it's, about a character discussion or fashion or who knows. I mean, the opportunities are endless for us, and even more so now as we move forward. And so I wanted to thank Jimmy and Jason and the entire Rebel Force Radio team and the Rebel Force Radio family. And that includes people like Paul Bateman and Kyle Newman and everybody that is a part of that show that has supported us, whether it's through social media or through, just comments and things that they say. And, they've given me a confidence that fuels me to this day to be able to do this show on a monthly basis. So thank you guys, because without you, we'd be, I don't want to say nothing, but nothing.
Well, we wouldn't be where we are today, I think. And I want to echo your thanks, Teresa and Trisha. And then I also would want to thank you two, because between you two, you invited me on along with Jimmy Mack and Jason, and I've been able to be a part of Fangirls Going Rogue as well. And I know we were like friends before, Facebook friends and Twitter friends before, but through this show, I feel like I've made some really close fangirl friends for life. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so excited to have you two as friends. And I'm so glad that we can continue to be friends. And, we all know that Star Wars friends are always for life. So between this whole community that we've formed with Rebel Force Radio, giving us this opportunity, and between you two, I just really want to thank everyone. And friends.
Yay, friends. And one of the things that pretty much everybody I've ever talked to who does a Star Wars podcast, they started doing it because they heard Jimmy Mack and Jason doing a podcast. There are people who are doing non-Star Wars podcasts because they got inspired by listening to them do their shows. So pretty much this kind of podcasting era in Star Wars fandom, which was going before the movies. There were people who were talking about it and enjoying it. They are the inspiration for everybody else who likes to get out there and just talk about Star Wars. So we don't want anybody to forget that's where all of us were inspired from. And I think that's really an amazing place to be. So can't wait until they have their little documentary. We can see all about beginnings and everything else. So, just you guys, everybody just remember when you're listening to the podcasters that it's always helpful that you say thank you. And so we're saying our thank you to Jimmy Mack and Jason.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that we're not a part of the Rebel Force Radio family anymore. We are. We're just going out on our own. So what does this mean? I know a lot of people are probably kind of scared because they don't know what this means. But what it means is that we're going to have a website, fangirlsgoingrogue.com. On that website, over time, it's going to develop and it's going to grow. But most importantly, it's going to be where you will find the show so that you can listen. It's where you'll find the show notes. We will have our own feed in iTunes now. And so what we need you guys to do before we launch our very first show, which we'll tell you about in just a minute, you need to go over to iTunes and you need to subscribe to us. You need to rate us with stars and you need to review the show. We have got to get this show up in the ratings on iTunes, and that is up to you. If you want people to support us and you want more people to listen, then we need your help. So please go over to iTunes and do all of that. And then keep checking fangirlsgoingrogue.com because it will be coming with some awesome stuff and it will just continue to grow and get bigger and it's going to be awesome. So there's nothing to be worried about. All of our social media stays the same. You can send us emails to contact at Rebel Force Radio. Contact at fangirlsgoingrogue.com. If you want to email Trisha, she's Trisha at fangirlsgoingrogue.com. I am Teresa at fangirlsgoingrogue.com. And Sarah is Sarah at fangirlsgoingrogue.com. Now, some of you are probably going, okay, so when does this launch? Well, our very first episode of the new incarnation of Fangirls Going Rogue will be on December 28th. And it will be in the evening. The time is yet to be determined, but our very first episode will be in conjunction with Steve Glosson from Geek Out Loud. It will be live on mixler.com/Goliverse, and we're going to kick this thing off right. We're going to be talking about our views and feelings and everything about Star Wars The Force Awakens. So that's the episode that I know you guys have been waiting for. And now we have the opportunity to do it for you. And do you know what that means? That means 2 episodes in December. Boom!
Yes! And having our own feed gives us some freedoms to maybe do more than 1 episode a month.
Which I know some of you have been wanting.
Have been asking for. And so Steve Glosson's coming to our pajama party.
He's coming to our pajama party.
This is going to be outrageous. It probably will be outrageous, but
I know.
It will be outrageous. And we also want to thank, with all this, Sandra, who does the social media maven stuff, Instagrams, and thanks our 400th follower and our 5,000th follower and all those things. And she's still part of it and in with us on doing this. So want to thank too. And you guys definitely follow her at Geek Chic 9 on Twitter because she's there being one amazing fangirl.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps us up. We hope you guys are as excited as we are. So head on over to our new website, fangirlsgoingrogue.com, and stay up to date on all of the things that are coming from all of our podcasts, the events we go to, everything. It's all going to be there. Get on over to iTunes and rate and review us. And sorry, I took that from the bottom. I'm just really excited about it. Just go over to iTunes and rate us and review us.
Yeah, or your favorite podcatcher, whichever, if you're on Stitcher, if you're on anything else. And also, I want to say, if you do not see us on your favorite podcast app, please let us know. So email contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. I am in charge of that, so I will get us up where we need to be for you to listen at your convenience.
Yeah, on your favorite podcatcher. You can catch us at all the same places where we always are. On Twitter, we are at FGGoingRogue. On Instagram, I'm stealing all of your stuff.
You can keep going.
On Instagram, we are at FGGoingRogue. Trisha is at Fangirl Cantina. I am at Ice Cold Penguin. Sarah is at Jedi Tink. I'm just going to keep going. Our new email is contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. On Facebook, it's the same. Hasn't changed. Fangirlsgoingrogue.com. And on Tumblr, that's the same too. Fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com. If you just by chance happen to be listening to this and you happen to be from somewhere that has things that you want to get reviewed, media@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. Okay, bye. That's all I have. You're good.
That is okay. We said Instagram already, and so voicemail. What are your thoughts on this? Are you excited about this? Please send us a voicemail. 33121 Ewoks, which is also 331-213-9657. And so, yeah, we're on iTunes now. We could totally use some fresh, shiny new reviews. We love those. So, everyone, until next time. Da 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 da.
Yum.
Yum.
Oh, so cute.